So slinkies, I don't know if you've ever had a slinky as a child or seen a slinky. So I pulled up a couple pictures for people that don't know what it is. But it's basically a spiral that goes on and on and on. And I think this is what they have us in here, a loop. And I'm going to talk about the time loops here. I've got a little drawing I'm going to do for you probably on a separate video and hopefully today, where I will draw this out, what's going on with our timeline. But I think this is where we think we're progressing. So we go through these spiral loops and it's like, oh, I'm in third dimension learning, fake. We're not learning things. And then I go up to 5D and it's a little better. And then up to 60 and up to 70 and 8D. So you spiral, see how it spirals through. And then you think you're rising up to higher levels and you're having spiritual growth and stuff. And then lo and behold, if you put this slinky together, the two ends together, that's how you go from 12D back to 3D. I'm back in it. And here we go again. So so there's even loops in the dimensions, not just in our life, like doing a particular loop of a scenario over and over. For example, being broke and no money, and then you just keep looping this over and over in this life. So there's all these loops on different levels. And so if you think you're rising up into the hippie, rainbow, new age, happy dimensions, you're just like looping. The cracks that we've been putting in the not only the matrix but the virtual universe, and I've gone further with it, whether I think there's multiple virtual universes. Anyway, they have been making a difference where the beings that are outside all the fake stuff, and that includes the dimensions, like the slinky, we'll call it the slinky, they're able to come in closer or get more access or help more. So we might be feeling more help coming in than we have previously. I know there's times all of us have gone through where we just feel like there's nobody. So I'm really thankful we found each other. Are the reptilians and mantids working together? I think yes. I've seen this before. I see the reptilians in control, but the mantids want control. I have talked to the mantids deliberately. I try to talk to the raptors, the mantids, and some other groups, just see what they'd say. And the mantids talk to me. And they talked a good game. And I was like, yeah, but you still want control. Yes, but it's peaceful control. So, oh, gee, thanks. So we've got all these AI factions fighting each other. Currently, the mantids work for the reptilians, but they're pretending to. They're not really. They're really making their own plans. And I'll get to that in a second, because a bunch of information came about from Sam and Kathy and I doing a soul rescue, and a bunch of information came from that. So some of this is in connection to that, I think, because this is stuff I've already asked. So when we got pulled into this virtual universe, were we creating a really good world for ourselves? And then we got pulled into their, like, to visualize their version. So I think that's almost what the pulled in means. And I think yes. So I'm going to get into that stuff in a minute. And somebody asked me about the order of Melchizedek and a high priest. It was a human. It's not good. I have said in previous videos, it was not popular, but I said that I think our sexual energy gets hijacked and stolen, and it gets rechanneled or redirected to them, and they do what they want with it. And it was kind of interesting because I don't know if Eddie said that or brought that up in the round table, but the four of us got into a discussion about that after we stopped recording, and all kind of felt that it's not only a mind thing, a mind program, or you see something visually or you hear something and then suddenly, oh, you're turned on. It's like a way for them to steal our energy. So But I think it's okay if you're with somebody that you love and you just want to express it in that way, but that's probably the best thing to do with it. Otherwise, you're just feeding them. Sorry, this is like the downer channel. So anyway, the three of us went in and we did a session, and we got taken to a place where there were souls. And honestly, the beings that were there, Sam was seeing these beings that were faceless, and then they had these long black fingers, and they were putting them on people's heads and stuff. I'm trying to go from memory here. And I took some notes. Of course, you know how I am, I wing things. I haven't even read through the notes. There's just too much information to get out there. But so we decided after we took the soul out of there to go back and just freeze time, control these beings, and talk to one or two of them and force them to talk. And so I was trying to talk to one, and so we ended up having Sam hold it, and then I would ask questions, because it was telling me that it basically has a program and knows who it's supposed to talk to and who it shouldn't. And so I just kind of reprogrammed it. And I said, the beings that programmed you are beneath me. I'm stronger. I have more power than they do. And I have the right to choose. So I'm choosing for you to tell us what we want, and you will tell us. So then it started to tell us information. And honestly, I kind of felt like it was correct. So, but there were so many of these beings in there. It was just unreal, the numbers. And we were at a place where they were, well, let me read through this. Maybe it's in here. So it was the hive mind. So those beings were connected into hive mind. They were faceless. They had no identities. And I said, they're related to the grays. And she said, no, they don't look like grays. And I said, no, I mean, they're related to grays, meaning they're just worker bees. They're just like robot worker bees working for somebody. And so what we saw was that they work for the mantids, or the information that we got from the one we were talking to, who pretend to work for the reptilians, but secretly are trying to get enough soul stations so that they can sustain themselves and not have to work for the reptilians. So this was like a soul station that was funneling them energy in order for them to exist. So it's similar to like a computer. If you unplug the computer, it can run for a little while on a battery, but then it needs a power source. And that's what these beings are. And this whole grid thing, which we'll get to here in a second. So they want to rule. And I said that before. I've already talked to these beings before, and they said they want to rule, but they think it's good because it's peaceful rule. No, they have us all in these soul stations. These beings were not, or these souls were not being treated nicely. If they were waking up, they were screaming, and these beings would put their hands and put them back to sleep. So Sam was getting a lot of visual while I was just firing questions. I'm just wondering if they've had their chance to rule before, but I don't know. Something just popped in about mantids. I got to keep going. Okay, so I saw a one-eyed being, because I asked who was at the top of the food chain, who's in charge. I saw a one-eyed being, almost like a cyclop, but not necessarily a cyclop. And it's interesting because when Sam and I went after Pandora's box, we saw a one-eyed being in there. But anyway, I heard them say they work for the Queen of Soul. Gosh, come on, I can do it. Queen of the Souls, who is a god, but ultimately, like, she works for, and the gods work for the Dracos and the reptilians. And I asked about that just to confirm what I have already gotten several years ago, was that the Dracos are the royalty. They're the white ones, and the reptilians are under them. So that's just the general everyday reptilians. If you're looking at like the food chain or the hierarchy of power. We asked if these soul stations were like, where are they? Are there some on Earth, like in this 3D or 4D or wherever we are, is there. And this answer was souls are in. Now, I should have recorded the whole thing so I could get the whole Q&A. This is just from memory here. But the souls, sorry, I'm hitting my mic. The souls are in view for those who can see. Some you can see hiding in plain sight on earth, those that choose to see and hear. Some of them are connected to the dumbs. So when they go down into the dumbs, there's also these soul things there, soul stations where they were all kind of like in a ring and being sucked dry, these souls. And I saw this particular soul down in a dark, what do I want to say, hole. And I don't know if I remember any more details, but I'd have to go back and listen to the recording. And then some of these soul stations are in dimensions and they come and go. So they're there and then they're not. And so they're all over the place. And there's endless numbers of these stations. And these stations were ordered by the reptilians and Dracos, but I think the mantids have taken over some of it. They're trying to, like I said, they want to rule. So they're pretending to go along with things. T, or 45, knows that this is going on, that there's souls and soul stations. We felt like, or this being said, that he was trying to expose all of it. He wants to go against all of them, including the faction that he signed up with. Now, I don't know what faction he signed up with. The old ones, or I think was what I got in the past. I don't remember what I got. It's not the reptilians. And it's not the mantids. He signed up, I don't think. He signed up with somebody that's outside these regular two factions. But I said that in a video that he wants to go against all of them. And it was interesting that this being said the same thing. But he said if humans try to fight, meaning T, and because they have the space army now, and if they go against all these AI factions. So if humans try to fight to take down the overlays, there will be war between the factions and with the humans, and that T needs to stay away. So what this being said, and I don't know if this is in here, so if it is, I'll be repeating. When I was on Jeffrey Daugherty's show, it was December 2019, and I said, it was like my coming out video where I mostly just talked New Age, in the realms of New Age with what I could, and just trying to navigate that without really getting into it too much because I didn't believe in a lot of it. I said that okay, I feel like I'm getting mind wiped. Oh, I said there is a real 3D Earth, but it has matrix overlays over it. So I kind of feel like that's what we're in, but it may include the whole virtual universe, because I kind of felt like they've just taken something real that us as extensions of Creator that are outside all the fake stuff, that wanted to just maybe create something that was beautiful that we could experience or something like that. And then they just put all these layers and layers and layers, and they keep burying us under virtuals. And so that we get lost and we don't know which one we're in anymore. And that includes all the dimensions, all of it. Everything's just this whole mess, this AI mess. And so this thing said that there is a real Earth buried between overlays or virtuals, which is the virtual universe. Oh, okay, which is where the virtual universes are. So the virtual universes are part of all these overlays and virtuals. So it's massive. It is built by our consciousness, some of us, those that choose to see and hear. The biological world is buried under virtual universe overlays. So there you go. The biological world is buried under virtual universe overlays. And then there's more than one of these virtual universes. So who knows how many of these worlds they have taken over like this. And these worlds, they're 3D, but again, it's not really, it feels like something that creators or extensions of the creator made. But when you go back to like creator or to everything where you're everywhere, that's a little different. But these are specific, maybe consciousness worlds that were created, or so I don't know what I asked here, but they said some can, and those that can't are in 3D. Some can see whatever dimension we want to see. So those of us that have woken up, we can see whatever we want to see, which basically to me says creating our own timeline. And the ones that can't are still in 3D. And they are pulling energy from the real earth. So the real earth being some either a creation of consciousness, or it's something, it's biological, but we don't have an understanding. But anyway, us as creators made that, and then they put all the layers and virtuals over it, and virtual universes and everything else. Or maybe there's more than one of these, like I said, because there's more than one virtual universe. So that whatever that real creation originally was, they're pulling energy from it. There are no dimensions outside of the virtual universe. So I did ask that. So once again, the slinky and all that stuff, it's all inside the virtual universe. The dimensions are part of the overlay. So when you say you want to go to fifth dimension, and I keep saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere unless he says some can see whatever dimension we want. So I'm staying right here, but I'm going to visualize what I want right here, and until we can get back to real earth. And that may be where some of us want to go. And then some of us are going to just leave all of it and go back to where it's limitless. When you have, let's say, the idea is we want to get out of here when we die and out of the trap. We don't want to keep coming back in here. We don't want to go to other dimensions that are inside the matrix. We don't want to go to source, which is inside. We want to exit this whole thing. So if it's an entire galaxy or a universe, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, then we have to think in those terms, not just a matrix around the earth. So I have talked before about doorways and having doorways where you can leave, like they're death doorways. So you could have, you could come into this life with a death doorway at like age 15, and then we'll say at age 32, and you have another one at age 85 or whatever. And supposedly you have a choice if you want to take those or not. Well, I've talked about this being a game and a matrix, and we're not creating in a false reality, but we're making choices. They give us choices so that we feel like we have free will. We feel like we're not going to be so combative in a prison or realize so much that we're in a prison if we're actually able to make choices. So let's say a car accident happens at 15 and you don't die, you live through it. Well, as you're going through life and making all these choices, it's like a flow chart. If I don't do this, I go this way. If I make this choice, I go this way. So maybe those don't even lead to the death at 15. So you've kind of bypassed it and you live through the accident, or you don't have the accident at all. And then maybe you've made all these decisions, and two paths actually go to the next death, and you're on one of them, but you decide you want to stay, and so on and so forth. But these are mapped out ahead of time, and we have to take one of them. Now, whether we have choices on those or not, I don't know, but I think we do. But they're not designed necessarily that we may have agreed to them because we came back in here out of guilt. Yeah, I'll reincarnate. I feel guilty. This is what they do with the matrix, and they send you back in. Well, here's your doorways that you can leave, but we're not going to put any that are too far out because we don't want you here a long time. We want to be able to mind wipe you again, because if you're here too long, you're going to figure out what's going on. So people that are having these near-death experiences, they feel all this bliss, you know, that can just simply be just like the tunnel of light. It can just be a little trigger in your mind, just like when you take a hallucinogenic and it may give you blissful feelings, whatever. This can be just something that's triggered in the mind to feel bliss, and it feels so wonderful there. And you talk to some guide, and the guide always, it's always the same thing. The guide always says, it's not your time yet. You need to go back in. And it's like, well, if we're sovereign beings, why does this guide decide if we go back in or not? I mean, unless we're going to buy into the whole thing that we're in a school, which I don't. So, but that's what they want us to think. And I'm sorry, if I'm leaving, I'm leaving. And you're not going to tell me that I can go back or that I have to go back. Or, but anyway, this is how they control this thing, I think. So let me see here. Okay, so nature reminds us of the real nature, the real, because this is a replica. So when you're out in nature hiking or whatever, and you connect with animals or plants or whatever, you're actually connecting with the real, real nature that exists through the replica. So it's not only reminding you of that, but you're also connecting to it. I did feel like that was true. This is a hypnosis, not a dream. I've talked about that before. So there's a difference between these. A dream is that you are asleep or whatever, or at a different level of your mind, and you're imagining or seeing things or dreaming about things. A hypnosis means you have another person there, or some other being or somebody putting you under hypnosis. They're in charge, and you're the hypnotized and they're the hypnotizer. So it involves some type of control, just like I was talking about with the near-death experience. Somebody tells you, okay, well, you're not done yet, go back in. It's like, well, okay, really? So there's a difference, because whenever I've said, is this a dream? Is this whatever? I've always got no hypnosis, very specific. So it means somebody's doing something to us, and we need the code word or the trigger word to snap us out of the hypnosis or to wake us up. And obviously they don't want to give us that. So, okay, so let's see what else have I got here. So I was at work and I was flipping through a David Icke book that they had on the shelf, because I just felt like, okay, this whole room's full of books and I'm not interested really in any of them. Kind of already been down all these paths and all these new age things and all these roads to nowhere. And so I'll look at Icke's stuff. I mean, at least he's talking about what's actually going on. And I just randomly opened it. And he had in his book, one of his books, I don't know which one it was because they had all of them there, that this is a virtual reality universe with a matrix inside of that. So, so I decided to read on that to see if that was accurate. And I got the matrix is a hypnosis, and that the universe is a hypnosis matrix as well. So it's kind of like we were thinking, we're buried inside of virtual reality inside of virtual reality. So it's the whole universe.
So 2 nights in a row, I go to sleep at like 11:30 midnight, and then wake up exactly at 1:11, and then I go back to sleep and wake up exactly at 7:07. And the thing is, for 2 nights in a row, I was going to it's called the mechanical room of the matrix, and I saw this little gray gnome-looking people. I call them gray gnomes of the matrix. They basically said they're just like robotic creatures who assist the matrix programs and who correlate and basically make sure that all the egregore machines and all the cords, all the systems run smoothly for the Matrix game. And they showed me, basically I saw it on the big giant screen, about the fractals, about how the universe looked like a mega computer. Then our solar system looked like another mega segment of it. Basically fractals. One fractal inside another one, inside another one. So they're all inside the other one. And then they unfold like the lotus flower with its petals. But the main thing that I understood and I looked at is those amazing egregore machines. They're giant. They look like they're made out of liquid metal. And they kind of look to my eye like jellyfish or octopi. Because the energetic cords hanging from them look like the tentacles. But what happens in our life is basically those machines are all around us. They're kind of like floating around us. And they all, basically each and every soul in the body, like you and me, gets at least 2 gnomes who watch you 24/7, or monitor your inner feelings, inner thoughts, your fears, everything, subconscious and conscious beliefs. They see it all on your movie line, I would say, because each computer, there's a huge giant screen. Inside the screen, there's little fractals on that screen, and in each fractal, I can see biological human with the soul, with a real soul. And it runs its, let's call it life or whatever choice. Basically, it's choices that make you go on the tree of life. In which direction you go depends, because there's red lights on both sides of your film, kind of like la pellicola, how do you call it? Like the film, right? Like a ribbon, and it runs, but looks like a tree trunk. And on both sides, depending on which egregore machine affects you, by using its agents of the matrix, which are people in your family, people at work, people you meet on the street, which one gets you, and which one can push you to make a certain decision or not, then you go and grow yet another branch of your tree of life. So if you figured out how to stay neutral and how not to let your feelings take over you, and if you figured out how to overcome your feelings basically and become neutral and non-reactive in every situation, then you can grow your own tree branches on your tree of life and go into your direction. If one of the egregore machines takes you over, then you go on more like a technological branch of your life development. And this way, it's kind of like you believe it's just a destiny, you cannot change it, it's negative and all this. And then the more you think about it negatively, the more it spirals around you. And what I see around people on the screens in that mechanical room of the matrix control, that some people are walking around, it's just like a swirl of energy. It's almost like they're walking inside of a hurricane. And that's a hurricane made out of their thoughts, beliefs, inner frequencies, right? That basically caused by your thoughts, by your beliefs, by your view of the world. And it's hard to get out of this because it sucks you in. It becomes a big part of your life, and you start believing that life is bad, that life controls you and you cannot control life. But the thing is, we cannot really control life. We can just become that little -0 in the matrix, and where they cannot grab us. Basically the tentacles of the octopi of those egregor machines that I see around us, with my eyes closed, and that I saw in my lucid dreams 2 nights in a row, they can only put a tentacle around you, create this vortex of negative energy if you produce and emit the negative energy via your thoughts and emotions. If you don't, then they let you go. But the thing is, they watch you on the screen and they're thinking, oh, she's been too much for too long in the positivity. Let's try to challenge her. And that's when the challenges begin.